Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Klein. This is statistics. Here's how we're going to begin the class. If you want to do statistics, you need a tool. And the tool that we're going to use is Google Sheets. Just like if you were going to play hockey, you would need to learn how to use a hockey stick and use it effectively. I want you to know how to use Google Sheets effectively. Let's begin. Go to Canvas, and on Canvas, you're going to find a document called Spreadsheet Operations Master. When you open that up, you will not be able to do any editing. So you're going to come down to File, Make a Copy. And when you make that copy, these are our naming conventions. I want you to get rid of the master, get rid of copy of, replace it with your name. So let's suppose your name is Brilliant Student. Then you're going to go last name first, first name second, and then you're going to hit OK. When the document finally loads, it's off to the races. This document has a whole bunch of tabs at the bottom of the page. If you've never worked with tabs before, I just want you to know that you can move them around if you want to. There's no need to here, but you can. You can also hit the plus sign right here. And when you do that, it will add a new tab where you can type whatever you want. Okay, good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that tab. And I'm going to come back to my first page here. You're going to see blanks throughout this document. Your job is to complete each one of those blanks correctly. So this first one doesn't look too hard. First name, Brilliant. Last name, Student. And then my email, brilliant34@bloomfield.org. Okay. And then your teacher's name, that's me. So that's Eric with a C and Klein spelled K-L-E-I-N. And my email address, which you can type in here, is eklein@bloomfield.org. As we work forward, each one of these cells is going to teach you a new Google Sheets skill. Now, I am starting at the very beginning, assuming that you have never worked with a spreadsheet program before, but I imagine that a lot of you have. So let's keep this in mind. Your goal, when you're done working through this entire package, is that you know how to do all of this stuff. So if that means that you pause the video and fill things in as I go, that's fine. If that means that you get to the first tab and you say, you know what, I already know how to do this, and so you don't listen to all of my explanation, that's also okay. But I need you to know how to do all of this stuff when you're done. So with that in mind, let's go to cell naming. Up here in purple, you'll see one of these text boxes on each one of the pages, and this is going to do a nice job of describing to you what I want you to know and what you need to know how to do. So a spreadsheet is made up of cells, and each cell has a location, and that location has an address. That address is defined above by the column, which is lettered, and to the left by a row, which is numbered. You'll notice that as I move my cell location around, you see the kind of shaded cells at the top and along the left that are moving around with me. That's where the name comes from. So for instance, in the cell that I'm in right now, I would be in column E and in row 8, and that means that this would be cell E8. So that's how we name cells, is by their column first and their row second. And I just want you to move around and fill in the rest of these cells that it asks you to do. That's all I want to say on that one. Let's go to the next page. Calculator. A spreadsheet is like a very, very powerful calculator. So pretty much anything that your TI-84 will do, you can also do on here. So for instance, let's suppose that I wanted to calculate 3 plus 4 plus 5. It will do this for me. I just have to tell it that I wanted to do that using an equal sign. Now, there's two ways that I can click into this cell right here. One is I can take my mouse and I can click in. Another way that I can do that is I can hit the Enter key. And I would like you to use the Enter key. And here's why. This is a big idea. Don't miss this. Our goal is that you don't ever have to touch the mouse when you are working with Google Sheets. The people that are skilled with this thing, just like in hockey, the people that really know how to use the hockey stick, in this case, they do not use the mouse because it slows you down. So that in mind, hit the Enter key, and then if I just put an equal sign right here, boom, it has done that calculation for me. Now let's suppose that I come back and I accidentally hit the delete button, and now that cell is gone. Oh, that's bad. I wanted to know what 3 plus 4 plus 5 is. How can I fix that? Well, hey, kiddo, leave that light on. Let's talk about keyboard shortcuts. Over here, the undo shortcut is Control-Z. You can also find these shortcuts if you go to Edit. You'll notice that there's an undo button here. But again, I had to use the mouse to do that. So my goal for you is that you will use Control-Z. So I just hit Control, and then while I'm holding it down, I hit the Z button and see that what I just did reappears. And I could keep going if I wanted to. Try going Control-Z a second time, and you'll notice that it goes back to, it reverts to the way the cell looked even before that step. All right, so you go ahead and you fill in the blanks as the directions here ask you to. Let's move on to talking about formulas. All right, so now that we know that this is a calculator, let's write some formulas. So as an example, it says type =, 4 multiplied by 5 plus 9, and do this in cell B5. And when I do that, it gives me the answer, which is 29. All right, so you should be able to use this in order to write formulas. One thing that I want to mention to you, I am going to do a Control-Z to undo that, is that if you wanted to write a formula that involves an exponent, let's suppose we wanted 2 raised to the 7th power, I would go =, 2, and then the way that you express an exponent is by putting in a caret. So it'll look something like this. Now let's suppose that I finished this and I see that 128, and I want to know where that came from. There's 2 ways I can go about that. One way is that I can move over to the cell, and when I do that, you'll see that the formula used pops up here at the workspace at the top. However, there's another way that I can do that, and that's by using the View Formulas keyboard shortcut, which is Control and then that little that's right next to the 1. So I'm going to hit Control, and you'll see that when I do that, it changed this into a formula. And then if I hit it again, Control, it goes back to 128. Let's talk about copying a cell. So over here, I've got some cells, Benny, the, Black, and Hawk. If I want to reproduce the name Benny in some other cell, one thing that I could do is I could just type B-E-N-N-Y. But then again, let's suppose that somewhere along the way, the school district decides, you know what, we're changing the name and we want to change our mascot to Jenny, the Black Hawk. Then I would also have to come over here and change this to Jenny. And that's no fun. So let me show you a better way. I'm going to move our mascot back to Benny. Instead, what we can do is we can say equals, and then I can reference the cell that has Benny typed into it. Now, if I look over here, that cell is A7. So if I write equals A and then 7, you'll notice that the color changes. That color change means that it's Google Sheets saying, yeah, I know what you're talking about. When I hit enter, magically it says Benny. And even better, now when the district decides, you know what, let's change the name to Rennie, it automatically, because we've used cell referencing, changes the name over here in D8. Okay, cool. So I'm going to hit Control Undo and send that back to what it was. Check out this one right here. What do you think is going to happen if I put an equal sign in front of this? We'll start with that. If I hit equals, you'll notice that now it says A7, A8, A9, and A10. So that's where we have housed Benny, the Black, and Hawk. What do you think these ampersands, that's what that little symbol is called, are going to do? Let's see. I hit enter and, oh, so those ampersands, they glue all of the words that are in this space, this space, this space, and this space together. It's called concatenizing. The ampersand is a concatenator. So we got that. Now let's suppose that in one more cell here, I want to put the word Black Hawk in. And I'm not sure if you're aware from looking at the school website, but Black and Hawk are actually separate words. I can get them separated. I just have to be a little bit clever. Here's what I do. I start with, let's see, Black is in A9. So I'm going to type in A9. Then I'm going to put an ampersand in because I'm going to glue something to it. But the next thing that I'm going to glue is a little bit of space. And the way to achieve a space is to put in quotation mark, space, quotation mark. So I have now glued Black to a space. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use an ampersand again to glue that to Hawk. Hawk is located in A. Now it says Black Hawk. And last thing you should know is that when I put that space in, there's another way that I could have done it. I could have, typed a word in that space, and now it will say Black Hello Hawk. All right, so that seems like a good place to stop for today. Go ahead and fill in the rest of the directions that were given to you. That's a good place for us to stop for today. Your task is to go back through these tabs that we've completed thus far and to read the directions and then fill in the rest of the shaded spaces.